I was just looking for a pet to adopt when I noticed something strange about a black and white cat at the shelter. His paw movements weren't random, they were deliberate, almost like he was trying to communicate something urgent. When David saw it, his face went pale. What we discovered next was so shocking, it led to an emergency call to 911 and changed everything we thought we knew about this cat. The shelter had become my regular stop in my search for a companion. I loved the idea of giving a rescue animal a loving home, and with each visit I grew more excited about finding the right match. Walking through those familiar hallways, I couldn't wait to finally bring a furry friend home and start our new life together. There he was, that black and white cat, making those strange paw gestures once again. It felt like he was attempting to communicate with us whenever someone approached. I paused for a bit, observing him carefully, attempting to understand what those actions could mean. It was amusing and fascinating at the same time, a combination that made me return to see if he would share his secret on this visit. David came over to join me, looking through the shelter cage bars at the cat. We both observed as the cat started his odd paw routine, appearing almost like a small performer behind glass. David rubbed his chin while thinking deeply. "Do you notice it as well?" I questioned. He gave a slow nod, showing both interest and concern on his face. The cat's strange behavior was becoming a puzzle we both wanted to figure out. David and I talked, sharing different ideas. "Perhaps it's a trick to get treats," I said with a laugh. "Similar to when my dog would pretend to be dead for food." David lifted an eyebrow. "That's possible? Or maybe just an odd habit." He thought out loud, though he wasn't completely certain. Whatever it was, it caught our interest, and the cat appeared to understand exactly what it was doing, almost as if it liked being mysterious. Still intrigued, David chose to write down each small action. Holding a notebook, he began recording every single detail. "Perhaps we can understand this if we gather more details," he said. The cat kept up its behavior, completely unaware, or perhaps just not caring that it had turned into a small mystery for us. At this point, David was set on figuring out what was behind those strange paw gestures. I started coming by more frequently, wanting to see the cat's paws perform their confusing dance. Each time he appeared to do the same actions, almost like a ceremony. It was becoming an engaging routine for me, attempting to piece things together. Every visit created more questions and a bigger curiosity about what he was attempting to tell us, if anything at all. Talking with other people visiting, I realized I wasn't the only one amused by the cat's behavior. "Have you noticed this small guy?" one man said with a laugh, pointing to the black and white furry entertainer. "Each visit, he performs the same thing," a woman mentioned, looking entertained. The cat had quite a crowd, and while some thought it was funny, others, like David and myself, were more curious about what it meant. David's notebook was getting full rapidly with notes and drawings showing the cat's every move. He was more concentrated than before, coming by daily to add to his notes. "There's something behind it, I'm certain," he told me, his face showing determination. The more the cat did his routine, the more David appeared to think there was a hidden meaning behind those paw movements. One afternoon, a woman mentioned casually that the gesture looked strangely recognizable. "I saw something similar in a documentary," she said, wrinkling her forehead, attempting to remember. David's attention increased when hearing this. "Do you recall what it concerned?" he entreated. She stopped. "It connected to something unexpected, but I can't exactly remember it." This brought a new dimension to our developing mystery. As news got around, more people began gathering near the cat's enclosure, having excited conversations. "What's he up to?" one person asked loudly, looking through the bars. "Seems like he's planning something," someone else said with a grin. It was fascinating to watch how the cat's actions drew so much interest. People moved closer, talking and sharing theories about the puzzling paw actions, making it quite the event. Standing there, I couldn't stop myself from copying the cat's paw movements, trying to understand them. "Am I doing it correctly?" I asked David jokingly. He laughed. "I believe you're as confused as I feel." Each motion appeared intentional, and I felt sure they contained some secret meaning, even if nobody could figure it out yet. "Do you honestly believe there's a message?" I asked David. He shrugged. "I'm not sure, but there's something about him that suggests so." We couldn't keep this mystery to ourselves, so we started bringing friends to the shelter. "You need to see this," we insisted, guiding them to the cats area. Their reactions mirrored ours, a mix of entertainment and confusion, as they tried to understand the paw gestures. The cat had become more than just another shelter animal. He was a mystery waiting to be solved. Before long, the shelter became the talk of the town. "You must see that unusual cat," people told each other excitedly. The shelter filled with curious visitors, each with their own theory about the cat's puzzling movements. People even started making friendly bets. "I think it's a secret cat performance," one man joked, tossing money into a makeshift pot. "No, he's writing something," another woman said confidently. It became a fun game for everyone, while the cat remained completely unaware of the excitement he stirred. People arrived from everywhere, sharing their creative interpretations of the paw movements. A man proposed it was a type of kitty charades. A woman guessed it related to moon cycles. "It's incredible how connected we've gotten to this mystery," David said, laughing. The cat's behavior created a mix of creativity and imagination, and while some ideas seemed wild, they made the discussions interesting and enjoyable. David, in his typical playful way, joked about creating a suggestion box. "Maybe people can leave their thoughts on the cat's puzzle," he joked, picturing what interesting theories could appear. It was a funny idea, and everyone laughed at the thought. Though the suggestion was playful, it brought a funny element to our constant effort to solve the mystery about our smart little entertainer. I heard one visitor sharing how her dog did something similar. "He would always hit his paws in a sequence when he needed attention," she told us. David raised an eyebrow. "Could be a way of communicating," he wondered. The story created a new way of thinking. Maybe it wasn't random. Perhaps there was a known connection in these mysterious movements that animals use to show themselves. A visitor suggested a fanciful idea. Maybe he's using a secret kitty code. The group laughed, but it made us consider. What if the cat really was writing something and we were simply missing an important key? "Like Morse code for cats," someone added, creating a new round of discussion. The options felt unlimited, and our small entertainer stayed the focus of an expanding mystery. The shelter had become quite popular with people trying to decode the cat's message. But despite all the excitement, nobody, including David, could figure out what the cat was communicating. "Still a puzzle, right?" someone asked David. He just shrugged, knowing we were all stumped. One afternoon, I decided to record the cat's actions on video. "Look at the camera," I joked as I pressed record. "Maybe the internet can solve the puzzle," David said. To our amazement, the video went viral. People online had wild explanations. Some thought it meant "feed me." Others called it cat choreography. The cat, completely unaware, had become an internet sensation. "It's quite the performance, isn't it?" I laughed one day. David nodded, a serious look in his eyes. "I'm determined to solve this," he said with resolve. Soon, the local paper picked up the story, calling it "Shelter's Mysterious Feline." "Can you believe this?" David said excitedly, showing me the article. The shelter was now in the spotlight, attracting even more visitors. The attention was great, but we still had no answers. "It's like a code nobody's cracked," one visitor said to David, who nodded in agreement. Despite all efforts, the cat's message remained a mystery. One gray afternoon, my phone rang with an enthusiastic call from David. "You need to look at this," he almost yelled. I found a repeated pattern in the cat's movements. His enthusiasm was catching, and I could sense the chance of finding something in the atmosphere. It felt like at last we could be on to something. The mystery parts could finally begin fitting together, and we were ready to start working. Meeting David at the shelter, we examined the notes and numerous videos. "There must be a connection," David said, writing on a sheet. Every action was studied, recorded, and watched repeatedly. We were like investigators following the path of understanding, but the answer was just beyond reach. Still, with each review, there was hope that we'd discover an answer hidden somewhere in the details. While thinking together, a young friend spoke up. "Maybe it's something important," he said, eyes large. His simple view suggested a sense of urgency we hadn't thought about. Even in his youth, he made us recognize the importance in what the cat was showing. The idea made David and me stop. What if there was more importance behind those paws than we'd thought? His statement encouraged us to consider this mystery even more carefully. Sensing that new urgency, David chose it was time to ask others who could understand the cat's message. "We need additional eyes and brains on this," he announced. We started contacting professionals and fans alike. "Maybe new perspectives will notice what we've overlooked," I said, feeling hopeful. This mystery was growing more complex, and the importance felt greater. But with the proper help, we were committed to revealing the cat's secret. We are all in this together. The shelter was full of more visitors than normal, all wanting to solve the mystery. It appeared like everyone felt involved in something larger. "We're all in this together," David said with a smile as we stood around the cage. The feeling of togetherness was amazing. It was wonderful to see that the cat had united us all. Perhaps we were discovering something genuine this time. One afternoon, a former officer came to the shelter, mentioning casually that he'd watched the cat's video on the internet. "I've never watched a cat behave like this," he said, laughing. David and I looked at each other hopefully. Perhaps this person could assist us in solving the case. With so many people focused on the problem now, there was a genuine feeling of hope that we could finally solve the mystery. The former officer used a considerable amount of time simply observing the cat. "It's almost like he's speaking," he thought aloud, eyes concentrated on our furry companion. His focus on details was remarkable, observing every small detail and motion the cat did. Each time the cat appeared unbothered, carrying on his routine. I observed, hopefully, wishing that this additional set of trained eyes could solve the interesting puzzle. The former officer identified the movements as recognizable, creating new interest. David and I asked for explanations, and though the officer was uncertain, he agreed to look back at old cases, giving us hope. David reached out to an animal specialist for understanding, but they required more background. I posted about our mystery on the internet, hoping to locate someone who could assist. In the meantime, the cat continued attracting interest with his strange actions. The mood shifted. One day, David understood the paw movements looked like distress signals from missing people cases. The mood shifted. We had to move quickly. We searched through case records, desperate to discover a match. Worry increased at the shelter as we all wished to solve the mystery. Our quirky cat's movements could have a serious significance, and we were set on understanding it. As the cat's movements started to look like distress signals, earlier, light-hearted ideas seemed pointless. David contacted the police, believing this might be something major. Officer Thompson came to watch the movements, bringing new hope. Information traveled fast, and the community filled with theories. In the meantime, David remained concentrated, arranging notes and recording everything. The neighborhood gathered around the mystery, wanting to assist. The mystery became a mission. Officer Thompson started an official examination, concentrating on missing people cases with similar movements. David provided all his notes while the officers studied every hint. Thompson later suggested this case might be important for unsolved disappearances. With the shelter now a center of movement, the neighborhood joined together in support. The mystery had turned into a mission, one powered by hope, togetherness, and the opportunity to reveal something potentially life-changing. David and Officer Thompson labored endlessly, examining missing people cases that could match the cat's movements. Notes and videos turned into crucial hints, and before long they found several likely connections. The shelter filled with enthusiasm as townsfolk shared theories and support. Pulled into the developing mystery, a hopeful family showed up, identifying the cat's actions from their missing family member. Their recollections provided essential information, and gradually everything started to match. With the neighborhood's assistance, David and Thompson assembled the complete story. In the end, the mystery was solved. The cat's signals aligned with those learned by a taken woman, his previous owner, who had taught him to copy her distress signals. The mystery was solved. The cat wasn't simply behaving strangely. He was a carrier of information, bringing about a strong and emotional discovery. The cat's signals brought about the finding of his taken owner, proving he had been attempting to communicate a request for assistance. David respected the relationship they had, naming the cat an unrecognized hero. Police saved the woman, unharmed but upset, and her account of staying alive touched everyone deeply. Celebration filled the shelter as comfort and happiness took control. The cat, not knowing of his heroic act, had turned into the middle of a life-saving effort. It was a time of victory, a proof of love, commitment, and the amazing bond between people and animals. Did you enjoy this story? Do you think a cat can actually save a life? Let us know in the comments below. If you like the story, subscribe to this channel and leave a like. Thanks so much for listening. See you in the next video.